So I'm Phil, and I'm from the Bijou Cinema in Southport, and I'm one of the directors and one of the staff.
Yeah, I'm Andy. I'm one of the directors and the manager of the Bijou. Yeah, so the Bijou is a community arts hub, as we've come to categorise it. It's a cinema, live music venue.
It's a live comedy venue, live amateur theatre. So yeah, it's a cinema which kind of does more, and that's why we've rebranded it as an arts hub, because while we do show films, we also want to promote arts across all the genres, basically.
So the Bijou is a mixture of film and the events we put on, like we've said, music, comedy, theatre.
But yeah,
but we have the capacity in a function room space. We call it a function room, but it's a multifunctional.
Yeah, so it's a multi-purpose room, basically. Yeah. But our number one bread and butter is films, because that's why the business was started by the gentleman who set it up. He was a good friend of Andy. Sadly, he's no longer with us. But he always wanted to own a cinema. So that's our bread and butter, is we show 7 films a week, and then everything else is kind of whenever we can fit it around what we do day to day.
We try and fit everything with the comedies in the cinema, so that's a bit of a niche that the comedians and the audience enjoy. If we have a play on, there's a theatre group, Two Friendly Theatre, who work with us. They stage a few plays a year, and we tend to try and schedule films or events around that. Music is in the cinema often or upstairs, so we always try and keep that like overarching connection. But so the Bijou was the concept originally of a gent called Michael Lockwood, who I knew in a friendly capacity from a film club that I used to go to, Southport Movie Makers. Michael was a filmmaker himself, did documentary kind of, fly on the wall kind of slice of life stuff where he lived growing up, and it just always had a passion for that kind of industry. He loved traveling around the UK, visiting film sets and manor houses, and he could kind of point out all these locations in all these films. And he'd always worked, he was a carer for his parents, and just always had this goal to, when he had the time and the money, to put his passion into a project that he could help others and see others enjoy what he did. And it was always to be a cinema, and as we've said, a arts hub more generally. Loved theatre and artwork, galleries, that kind of thing. So when he was, able in his older age, he had time, he had the money, and that was how the Bijou kind of came about.
And then he hired Andy off the back of
this was 20, early 2015, 16. It kept going on and on. It was planning permission, money, this, that, the other. It was brought me on board. My background's hospitality, so he knew me. He'd only really just moved into the area, so he didn't know many people. He knew me as a friend, so he trusted me and knew that I kind of had the capability to manage bars and things, and he just wanted to not do that.
But you also had the passion to,
and I love cinema and film as well. So that was it was a perfect kind of pair. And thankfully, as Phil said, Michael unfortunately passed away over COVID, but we managed to get it up and running together. We had a year together before lockdowns and things happened, and so he got to see his passion, fulfilled, and sadly not as much as it is now, because we've grown a lot more since then. But he was happy that he'd done it, and the amount of outpour there was from people saying, "Oh, this is great that you've realised this." So he was very private, and he would never admit it, but he was very proud, I think, to finally get it going.
Yeah, it's the one thing that we do. We always we tell new customers, we have a memorial set up for him, kind of like in the corner of the lobby, with basically like a scripted version of what Andy's just said, just so that when all our customers come, then they know the story behind the business.
Yeah, it's all part of the...
and it's all part of like the charm of the place. But it's also just so that people remember him. But it's like Andy said, you know, he wasn't Southport local, so it's just great that he's kind of left this great legacy for the town, from somebody who was originally from the northeast. So obviously he brought Andy on board as the manager. I knew Andy from the pub, basically, but we became friends just because we love cinema, we love films, we love theatre, we love live music. So Lewis, our colleague who's not here today, he went on board with Andy, and then I joined them in the January after we opened. And Mike, he insisted on back paying me for 3 months of voluntary work, like just because of the kind of person he was.
Yeah.
Once the business was financially viable, he then hired me as an additional member of staff. So he was a lovely man, even in the limited time that I knew him for. And obviously that's our main thing. And I won't swear on camera, but when we were at his funeral, we kind of all shared this. We're not going to make a mess of this. And we always,
it's always a lovely community.
And we always tell them to stay at local B&Bs as well, and to
yeah,
just, you know, we show them the best of the town centre. So
I think one of the charms, as we're told, isn't it, from people, is that you can get an alcoholic drink. You can get a wine or a beer, or you can take it in a glass or a bottle of wine. You don't have to, you know, transfer it to plastic. And it's just more relaxed.
It doesn't cost the earth.
And it's, we're relatively cheap. So
it's, well, I think we may have touched on this earlier, or if we haven't, so we're a community interest company and we're not for profit. So that helps us to keep our costs low. So the tickets are, you know, £6, £3 for children to 18 or under. And then our snacks are kind of just like shop prices, basically. You know, you're not paying £5 for a bag of Revels. It's
though we do understand why, knowing licensing, why cinemas have to charge the concessions of things.
I think that's the thing. In terms of like our food and drink offering, we do kind of have what would like a traditional bar would have. So we have beers, wines and spirits, we have soft drinks, and then it's just general kind of chocolate and popcorn. And there's a lady called Sarah who she provides cake for
Birkdale
us.
Homemade, I think.
Yes, Birkdale Homemade is a business.
So she makes cakes fresh for us, and
yeah,
it's all part of the community. You know, she was a volunteer when we first opened. She was happy to volunteer with her time, and that's transferred into the cake side of things. So we try and involve as many people. We stock local, you know, the Southport brewery, beers, and try and get different businesses involved, really.
Yeah, it's like, you know, we're good friends with the guys at the Windmill on Seabank Road, so they do an offer where you can get money off food if you have a Bijou Cinema ticket. And, you know, we're trying to get involved with more kind of town centre businesses. If people approach us with offers, then we normally jump at the opportunity, because we want the town to be thriving, and for it to thrive, then the more cooperation, the better. We do a lot of work with the Southport bid, and they're great, you know, Rachel and Luke at the bid for promoting the town centre businesses.
So for somebody that doesn't know where you are, where can they find you? How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so we're on 8 Post Office Avenue, which is the small road off Lord Street, just next to the side entrance of Sainsbury's.
So if you're on Lord Street and then you turn right to go past the Sainsbury's, that's St George's Place, and then Post Office Avenue, you just take a left. It's like a one-way street down there, and then at the end of the street you have the Mason's Arms and Lucy's Cafe, and it's along that way.
It's about a 4-minute walk from the train station as well, so we're pretty central.
And obviously the buses along Lord Street, you know, you can just jump off and it's a couple of minutes walk.